All right, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to today's presentation. We want to kick off our Back to Basics, Stepping Up to the Plate challenge. Can everyone see my screen and hear me? I'm
Yes.
gonna, oh, beautiful. Thank you. Awesome, awesome. All right, so today, myself, Amanda, my name is Amanda. I am the managing dietitian here at Functional Nutrition RX, and Christina, the owner of our practice. We will be presenting today's presentation together. So we'll be switching on and off. So to get started, right, the whole point of this challenge is to embrace sustainable nutrition habits, right? We're coming from an abundance mindset of what to add to our day versus a restrictive mindset, right? So this program is going to be starting off with building a solid foundation regarding protein, water, and having consistent meals that will go more in depth later in the presentation on. So we're building that foundation so that later in subsequent quarters of the year, you can build upon that strong base and still stay consistent with what we worked on here during this month. So the link, we're going to go over actually some housekeeping first. So this 1 month guided program challenge, right, is going to last from Monday the 9th, right, will be the official start day to Monday, March 9th. It's nice because February is a shorter month, so all the dates kind of line up in March very symmetrically. So the 9th to the 9th, easy to remember, right? So we will have a midpoint presentation in 2 weeks at of course, the halfway point of the challenge on February 23rd, a Monday evening at 6 p.m. Similar to today's presentation, it will also be recorded and distributed out via email and in the modules, which you will be added to in Practice Better as a YouTube link. So everyone will have access if you want to go back and, rehear something, or just in case we're not available at that specific time, just so that everyone can be involved. So, of course, it will be live that day. It's going to be a little different than other previous seminars in that it's going to be more of like a coaching call, being that we want to go over the actual barriers and issues that you guys may be facing in a conversational manner. So, of course, if you can make it to that session, or if you want to submit any questions that you run into along the way in the group chat that we will be establishing and going over, or email us on the side asking us if you're not able to make it live, just for us to touch on that barrier. It's good to know this information now that that's going to be available to you so that if something does occur that you have a question about, meal prep, etc., we can answer that and be there to support you. So, of course, that session's going to all be about mindset, troubleshooting, and building momentum into the final half of the challenge. You will be receiving weekly recipe packets. So you will actually get your packet a little early this week, typically by Friday. In the module, which you guys will have access to after today's presentation, you will already have the first 2 weeks of recipes there. And when you get your second module, you'll get the next 2 weeks. But just to make sure that everyone's receiving the information, you'll get an email each week with those recipes as well. There, like I said earlier, we'll have a private group meet chat. So that's also good for building community, sharing wins. If you find other recipes that you really enjoy, or you make one of the recipes from the packet, please share that. It's in the energy that you guys put in, other people also build off of, and I think it's really nice when everyone's really involved to build that momentum and joy. And then you will also be participating by completing a daily short entry as a way we will tabulate points. And also, it's a good self accountability measure, but also we will be holding everybody accountable for, completing those entries. So that the way you earn your points is by going into your Google Sheet, which we will go over in subsequent slides, and logging if you had 3 meals in a day, right? Yes or no. If you put details, that's wonderful. There's more that we can give positive feedback or troubleshooting feedback based on that. To have at least 20 grams of protein per meal. We will go over what 20 grams of protein looks like. Many of us might have different protein needs, but for most of us, we should be having at least 20 grams of protein per meal. So that's why we made it that goal. And to have at least 64 fluid ounces of water per day. as that fits the needs minimally for most individuals completing the challenge. So, three core ways to build your points. We don't want to do more than that because sometimes it becomes overbearing and harder to focus on four, five, six different things at a time. Keep it simple, do three things really well consistently, and then build upon that. So as you could see on the right here, where I'm circling, this is going to be an example of your Google Sheet. If you don't have access to Google, please we'll talk on the side to come up with another solution for you. But you'll simply log on to that sheet and fill out in the column as an example here, and you guys will each have the example, that you had 3 meals in a day, for example, what you had. If you had at least 20 grams of protein, you would indicate yes. And then if had more than 64 fluid ounces of water, you can write yes or exactly what you had, how much, because then it could also help you with your own mindfulness of your intake. And then us, the clinicians, will be going in and writing the points that you earned for each week and tabulating that up. At the midpoint, we'll state, who's in the lead, or who's some honorable mentions. So it could also help to build that momentum. It's ideal to try to do this each day versus waiting till the end of the week and bulk doing it and trying to reflect on Friday. What did I have on Sunday? And to make it super simple, I did do a screen record, which should be showing up, but now it's resuming. Oh, there we go. It's playing, but it's not showing it. I don't know if it's showing it on you guys' end. I will distribute this either way. I think it might just be an issue loading it. Let's see if it plays. It's giving me a grippy hand versus an arrow to play. We don't want the grippy hand. I will share this just in interest of time, but essentially, oh, now it goes to play. Is it? Fingers crossed. So the fastest way to do this, it depends on your preference, but I feel the fastest way to do this is to download the Google Sheets app on your phone, and then you'll favorite your sheet in on your Google Sheets app. So then you literally just will click that app and then go in, jot down that quick information at the end of the day, what you had, your water, your protein, and then be done. Keep it simple. If you're more of a computer browser person, that's fine too. You could favorite the email or favorite it in your Google Drive and just pop onto that at the end of each day and input your information. If you have any troubleshooting issues, please email us, of course, at info@functionalnutritionrx. Message us on the side, give us a call, and we can help you to navigate. Of course, that contact information is here, and there's the link to the example sheet, which each of you will be getting by the end of the day today. And you'll get that video that we'll be able to play, I promise. Let's see, my computer is a little lagging at the moment. I'm trying to resume slide, but I think the video is now holding it back. There we go. Oh, it resumed the whole presentation. It has a mind of its own. So hold on one second. Just going to back out and go back in. Okay. Percent. So as you can see on my screen, GroupMe is another app that you can download by scanning this QR code from the PowerPoint slides, which will also be sent to you and in your modules. Or you could click the link here from your PowerPoint slides as well and in the module. Now, that will allow you, of course, communicating within the team, like I said, sharing your wins, sharing pictures of the recipes you've cooked or other things that you found along the way, posting any quick questions that you may have. Of course, for those longer questions, we ask kindly that you guys submit that for that midpoint coaching call so that it could give us the full breadth to really expand and discuss it. But of course, that GroupMe is here for you in this slide. Because it's a challenge, right? There's an incentive. right? So everyone is competing. Of course, we want to compete against ourselves most importantly, but we all are competing to get the most points, action-based points. Notice it's not based on who loses the most weight or body fat or gains the most muscle. We try to make it something that is more tangible and controllable and action-oriented, as the body composition is more so the side effect of the actions, right? So the winners will receive a $50 Amazon gift card at the end of the challenge. So, of course, at the midway point, we'll announce who is in the lead and, of course, honorable mentions. I don't know why it just resumed all the way to the end instead of what I needed. Sorry, guys, technical difficulties. Okay, beautiful. Present. So, like I said, you will be receiving a recipe packet. So, although the challenge isn't to follow the recipe packet to an exact T, you technically could, right? So, there's going to be four different breakfast recipes, four different snack recipes, four different lunch recipes, four different veggie-based recipes, four different dinner recipes, and four different what we call like sweet swaps, evening treats recipes, just to further support. And also, you can save that and use that even later in the year as needed. So, that's going to be located in your Practice Better module, which you'll have access to later today. And they'll also be sent weekly just as a loving reminder to help support you guys on Fridays. The first module that you're getting today will have the first 2 weeks worth of recipes. And then your second module that you get at the halfway point you'll have your last 2 weeks of recipes, weeks 3 and 4 in there. So the biggest thing that we want to drive home is that this challenge is meant to be abundance mindset focused, right? We're not focusing on restriction. As humans, if you tell us what not to do, it's hard to think in negatives, right? Like don't have soda or don't have uh, too much excess sugar. It puts it too much on front of mind. And if it feels restrictive, it's not usually something that is sustainable and often consistent, right? Concepts of restriction can be you know, don't eat at night or, you know, don't drink or don't have carbs. So we're focusing more so on what to add, like the protein, consistent meals, hydration, because it makes us feel more full and satiated to help control craving. So it does keep us from even really wanting an abundance of the not so great stuff. But it's important to think that all foods fit. It's just a matter of how frequent and the dosage to which that food is coming in. We want to aim for consistency versus restriction, right? There are some health concessions that get made along the way, right? You can still have a few sweets, but focus first on having those balanced meals, your protein, your veggies at your meals, for example, and then see if you even really want it down the road. You can, another example of health concessions is that I can watch that extra episode of my favorite show, but after I go for a walk, right? So saying like, all right, I'm going to make this compromise with myself that if I'm going to allow myself or give myself endless permission to have this sweet treat, at least let me have my vegetables and my protein at the meal first so that I'm not as hungry going into that treat, right? It's not the ketchup, it's the fries, is the example. So try to see the big picture. We're here to support you throughout the way. Let us know if you run into anything, though. And it's important to really think about this from a consistency and habit building standpoint, right? We don't want to emphasize perfection. Perfection is an unrealistic mindset, right? So perfection meaning like if your week looks like the image above, salad every day, fruit, and it's, not as much of our favorite foods that we enjoy or different swaps that are healthier alternatives to what we might be craving, then our weekends could look more like the image on the top where you see like the pizza, the beer, etc., the very frequent splurges. It's not about cutting out all of our favorite foods, but it's more so mimicking maybe that bottom image where you do see that like 80-20 mindset, eating mindfully about 80% of the time, giving ourselves those little splurges in moderation, that other smaller percent of that time, that 20%. It helps to avoid that, I don't want to come off crass, but that F it mindset that people might get on the weekend, right? I've been feeling so restricted and withheld. I just need freedom, right? So we're trying to avoid that, and we want to feel that we're not restricted, that we want to feel like we're not on a diet and that we're enjoying our meals. And I do think you're really going to love the recipe packet, by the way. Um, Stay on track with honoring your cravings. If there's certain things that come up, post it in the group, right? Like, I'm really craving X, Y, and Z, because we can all jump in and support and say, oh, yeah, if you're really craving this, try this alternative, for example. So, this is all about community building, and we will be monitoring the chat to jump in and assist and support. So, why are we framing it this way? Because, quote unquote, diets, 95% of diets fail. We're not doing a diet. We're just making consistent lifestyle changes, right? So when people try to start a diet and it's from that restrictive mindset, we start at the top of this circle, right? Because perfect is the enemy of actual progress. Then when people are super restrictive, right? I'm just going to eat a salad every day for lunch, a smoothie for breakfast, and dinner's going to be brown rice, bland chicken, and vegetables, right? That might work for a couple weeks, and the person might see some short-term success, but then physically and psychologically, they're going to start to feel deprived. They might start saying, ooh, I'm going to give myself that weekend example that we saw in the top picture of the last slide. I'm going to break, quote unquote, the rules and start overeating, maybe be more prone for that binge eating. Then you're going to see that weight regain, that dissatisfaction with that, and the cycle continues, right? So we're going to be like Daenerys Targaryen and break the wheel. So what we're saying is not a strict dieting focus, more so emphasis on abundance, what to add, and different habitual shifts towards a healthier lifestyle. So in this addition mindset, we're focusing on increasing the consistency of eating every 3 to 4 hours. So essentially breakfast, lunch, dinner, and 1 to 2 snacks as needed throughout the day. We like to suggest placing those snacks either mid-morning, especially if you're a morning exerciser and you're catching yourself getting super hungry before lunch, and that hunger is making you, so hungry by the time you go to start lunch that might, make us less likely to choose the best options. Or ideally, I really like to emphasize that mid-afternoon snack between lunch and dinner, if needed, that evening snack, right? If we're really hungry. Of course, increasing daily protein is our focus. So having breakfast, lunch, dinner, 3 meals in a day, having protein, and of course, depending on your starting spot, increasing our daily water intake, right? Like we might have days where we're over 64 fluid ounces, but is that like 4 days a week or is that 7 days a week? So we're looking at consistency there. Other examples that aren't going to be points driven, but important to consider is, increasing our physical activity based on our current baseline and physical needs. And of course, increasing time, planning meals and grocery shopping. We will be assisting you with that, though, by giving recipes and weekly meal plans. Christina is going to present on protein, so I'm going to pass off the mic to Christina. Oh, I'm going to go back to sharing the presentation. I don't know why
I just reclaimed host, and there was a couple people that I had to let in.
Oh, perfect.
So hold on. Sorry. Where is my screen to share? Here we go. Okay. Okay. Can you see my screen and
Yes.
me? Okay, perfect. I figured because your thing's like a little like lag, so maybe just going through my screen. So yeah, I'm going to talk about protein right now because that's one of our metrics that we're measuring in this challenge. So where our goal is to get 20 grams of protein at 3 meals a day and to eat 3 meals a day, as Amanda mentioned. We're starting low. 20 grams of protein is not a lot. So we're doing this because in our experience, we see a lot of our clients struggling to get the protein in. So we're starting low. If you consume more than that, that's perfect, no problem. But this is kind of where we're starting at. And the 3 meals a day is really important, as Amanda mentioned, because We don't want you grazing throughout the day. We want you to sit, be mindful, have your meal, make sure it's full of the nutrition that you need, as opposed to kind of just going and not thinking about what you're eating and grabbing a bar here, grabbing some nuts here, grabbing an apple here and grazing. We really want to just have those three meals that'll help you feel fuller for longer and help your blood sugar stay stabilized. Okay, so oop, is it still there? Hello?
It
Can you,
went to the home screen, but not the presentation.
okay, back?
Yes.
Okay. I'm trying to I can't see everything. Okay. So why is protein important? It helps increase fullness. So protein is slower to digest than carbohydrates, for example. That's why we're always teaching you to eat your carbohydrate with a protein or fat because it does slow absorption of the nutrition that you're eating and helps you fuller for longer, preventing you from grazing and maybe picking something that you may not fall into your plan. Obviously, well, not obviously, but it does preserve lean muscle mass. If you did not know that, which is super important. We have a lot of um, women and men in this group right today for our challenge, and the best thing we can do for longevity is to preserve lean muscle mass, and we can increase lean muscle mass well into our 60s, 70s. Research is showing. So eat the protein for better muscle mass preservation. And then also, as I mentioned, stabilizing our blood sugar, which is really important. It prevents those crashes throughout the day that might make you say, oh, I just need some type of sugary carbohydrate. This will help prevent that. We have a lot of resources on this, but I'm going to have some examples throughout the presentation that you can go back to, which will send the slides, but some samples of meal options with 15 to 30 grams of protein. We're aiming for at least 20, but this could show you you could even up for the 16-gram one, the Greek yogurt to a full cup, and that'll get you way past the 20 grams of protein. A plant-based one in the middle with your lentils, quinoa, nuts, and then the larger one using actual, chicken and animal proteins. It's good to mention that when we think about proteins, we might just be thinking about the animal source of protein in the food. But if you're balancing your meal out with some nuts or seeds, some whole grains, all of those have sneaky little tidbits of protein in them. So you could get an additional 5 grams of protein easily by adding nuts and, quinoa to a meal. This I thought was fun to include. I've used it in the past. It's kind of like My Plate, but more linked for body comp, sports nutrition. So it's more of the rule of thirds. So basically, looking at your protein, your veggies, and your carbohydrates, so three things, and filling almost half your plate up with non-starchy vegetables like the broccoli in this picture, a quarter of your plate with starchy carbs, which would be your rice, quinoa, sweet potato, pasta, all that stuff, and then the other quarter of your plate protein. If your plate is a good 10-inch plate, a quarter of your plate in protein will be about 3 ounces, which will be about 20 grams of protein. Oh, I do want to mention, so 20 grams of protein, that can look like the palm of your hand. Uh, 20 grams of protein in animal products is about 3 ounces of protein. So you can weigh that. You can put it in a cup. It's about half a cup. Or you can just easily say, okay, it's about the palm of my hand, or a deck of playing cards for the thickness. And that's an easy, quick way to do that. And once you have a good visualization, you can kind of estimate as you go along. This is here for your reference as well. Basically, animal-based proteins like your egg, like your meats will be 1 ounce is about 6 or 7 grams of protein. So again, we're looking for about 3 ounces of protein, and then just other tidbits of protein, like your eggs are a little different, your Greek yogurt, all that stuff. Fish, depending on the fish, is a little different as well. Usually white fish, you have about double of the size to get to your protein need. So you can eat 6 ounces of a white fish, and that'll give you your 20 grams of protein. So this is here for you. Plant-based proteins, a little tricky if you're vegetarian or vegan. totally doable. So we have all a bunch of common proteins and plant-based foods and measurements on this slide for you. And like Amanda said, we have the meals that are going to be in our recipe book that will help you get to that. So an example SMART goal is 3 protein-rich meals per day. That's our goal of this challenge. And here's some easy ways to incorporate that. I'm a fan of like power bowls. So thinking of almost like that plate method that I showed you, getting your protein source, which it could be a bean, could be the chicken, could be turkey, fish, anything you like. Throw that in the bowl, throw a base, which would be your starchy vegetable or grain, a rice, a sweet potato, a fun veggie, and any type of dressing topping that you like, and that's your power bowl. Going into hydration, which Amanda will talk about. Do you want me just to do the slides? Okay. You're on mute.
Yes, please. Thank you.
Okay.
So hydration. We chose hydration as there's so many benefits to it, especially it is still that cold and flu season, so it is helpful to prevent infections, but also to clear pathogens through our body. It provides joint lubrication. So, of course, joint lubrication helps to give space in between, for example, our vertebrae. So it can help support us in that regard. Deliver nutrients and nutrients to cells, right? Could help support our cardiovascular system in that deliverance of, say, iron throughout our body, just as a small example. But also, it helps improve cognition, mood. Our hypothalamus tells us if we're hungry, we're thirsty, we're tired. So sometimes, if we're dehydrated, we might have the illusion that we're hungrier than we are, and to go and potentially overconsume certain foods, for example. So, of course, hydration is going to be key for lots of other reasons: athletic performance, improving our energy, regulation of our digestion, helps to keep motility going, helps to remove waste digestively. So it's a very important, actually water is still considered one of your macronutrients. So something that's needed in a large abundance in the body, as we're about minimum, usually this image is a little off. It's actually about 70% water for our body. Christina, next. So it's good to have multiple tools in the tool belt when we're trying to consistently increase our water intake. So caffeine can still count towards about 16 fluid ounces of fluid. So that is something to consider. But it's important to get water first in the morning before we have our coffee, right? It's because we're not drinking while we're sleeping. So we tend to wake up a little bit more dehydrated. So something that we like to recommend to help increase our water consumption is a concept called habit stacking. So try to pair different habits together. So if you go to the coffee machine first thing in the morning and that coffee is brewing and you're already in a habit of that, can we leave a glass the night before near that coffee machine so that when that coffee's brewing, we drink some water, maybe with some lemon, a pinch of iodized sea salt, iodized salt, excuse me, in the morning, to already make a dent of about 16 fluid ounces more if we're not already doing that in our day, right? We call it our emotional support water bottle. You keep that thing with you all day, wherever you go, and it will help to entice drinking, right? Keep it right on your desk with you, in the car. If you go shopping and run errands, keep that water bottle with you, because just the concept of having it with you will help to increase your water consumption. And it's good to know how many fluid ounces your water bottle is. So, for example, if you have a 32 fluid ounce water bottle, if you fill that up 3 times, you're at 96 fluid ounces for the day, or you've already hit, if you fill it up twice, you've already hit your water goal for the day. So it helps to keep that math consistent and easy when you're filling out the sheet, but also to keep mentally mindful of how much you've consumed. Uh, think of it like keys, phone, wallet, water, right? We learned how to do that with masks during the pandemic. We could do it with our water bottles if we're not already. Something that is a useful tool that has been helping a lot of patients, I find, is to set reminders on your phone, whether it's using the reminder app, or there is an app called Water Tracker. You can use it just for the water reminders. You don't have to track your water in there and double track on your sheets, but it'll automatically default to sending you a water ping notification every 2 hours. And you can change that. You can make it at certain time points of the day. You can make it every 3 hours, 4 hours, every hour. etc. So that's also a great app to know about. Not because it really makes you feel super full, but from a habit stacking standpoint, try to drink a little water, small sips at least, before your meal. So if you add, at least 8 fluid ounces before breakfast, lunch, dinner, if you're not already, you're at 24 extra fluid ounces of water per day. I like to say, because it's also a memorable comment, drink and drive, meaning drink your water and drive, right? If you're at a red light, sip on your water bottle. It's a great way to fill dead time and also build that habit stacking, right? It's right there in your cup holder. So even if you're not reaching those 64 fluid ounces of water at first, but you're increasing above your baseline, say someone's baseline is, 20 fluid ounce of water to 20 fluid ounces of water per day, and now you're getting up to 40, you're still going to feel better, and that's still progress and worth to celebrate. Other things to note, Christina, can you resume, please? Thank you. Is to help with adding another tool in the tool belt, it's liquids. It still counts towards your fluids. Consider adding flavor to your water, especially this time of year. I know it's cold, that many of us, our thirst mechanism might not be as strong as it is in the summer. I do see a lot of dehydration this time of year, is to add flavor to your water. That could be frozen fruit or regular fruit and herb and fruit infused water like blueberry basil, I love, making spritzers or using electrolytes to an extent, depending on your perspiration and your sports performance needs. There is a brand called Ultima. There's also Nectar out there that are fairly low in sodium for the average person that they could utilize that. However, I really do love True Lemon because it's just an easy packet you can keep in your bag. They have multiple flavors. There's True Lemon, True Strawberry, True Lime, True Mango, etc., to add that flavor and also keep it very portable. Herbal teas, decaf teas will count towards your fluid needs. Seltzer, although it should not be our primary fluid and can sometimes disrupt digestion for some, seltzer can count towards your fluids. It's just to try to use flavor enhancers from natural sources and try to avoid artificial sweeteners, like the ones below on the slide. Christina, can you resume, please? Thank you. Something that you may have seen in different locations, for example, anywhere near a sports complex or a college athletic facility, you may have seen these urine scales, right? So the best way to know if you're hydrated is looking at the color of your urine. It can get skewed by a few things, especially if you're taking B vitamins, so try to keep that in mind. But ideally, you want pale, odorless urine that's the color of pale straw. If you're urinating a clear liquid 3, 4, 5 times in a row, you could be oversaturating your electrolytes. So clear isn't always perfect, to have all the time, but clear, a few times throughout your day is good to look for, but pale straw is ideal. As you go down on the chart and you see darker colors, you could see it, for the middle options, 4 through 6, to try to add at least 1 glass of water. If it's very dark, like below, at least 3 glasses of water, please add in. I hope no one is at that point. Christina, can you resume? Thank you. So for your personal hydration needs, we're starting everybody off at 64 fluid ounces of water just to try to keep everybody in a fair, even baseline to reach for, and it's still gonna reach most people's needs. But the best way to calculate your personal water needs is to take half your body weight in pounds and divide that in half. That's just for your baseline amount of water. So if we're a 200-pound individual, about 100 fluid ounces of water per day is a good goal. Sports nutrition can also factor into this. Christina, can you resume, please? Thank you. So when you're exercising, you do want to aim to consume at least 16 fluid ounces of water before your activity, about at least an hour before. During, the best way to measure is actually if you weigh yourself before exercising and then after exercising, and noting for every pound that you lose to drink at least a water bottle to replenish the fluids that were lost while exercising. 1 pound loss is equivalent to about a 16 fluid ounce water bottle. Post-exercise, same thing, 16 fluid ounces. So you want to think 16 before, 16 during, 16 after is just an easy rule of thumb. It does get more technical. Sports dietitians in the professional setting are literally measuring perspiration with a sponge and how much comes off of individuals, but we don't need to get that technical. Christina, can you resume, please? Thank you. Oh, Christina is going to present on meal prepping now.
Yeah, so to go into meal prepping, we've done a lot of challenges that include meal prepping, and while it's not required, we think it's super easy, like super important to add into your lifestyle, and it could be all different levels, which I'm going to go over. But basically, we're thinking about prepping our meals in advance. So there could be a big spectrum, which I'm going to talk about. And why is it easier? Why do we do it? It just makes our life easier. It makes our portions already controlled. We don't have to, I mean, for me, sometimes I get in a rut where I'm not meal prepping, and in the morning I'm like, oh, what should I get? What should I do for dinner? And thinking about like ordering food to be delivered or going to the food store. So this kind of takes all that out and just leaves one less stressor to where in your life for the day. So what kind of meal prepper are you? I thought this was fun. This is a little quiz you can do yourself, and you can kind of look at it as, do you like to meal prep, you know, like once in a while, or are you going all out and making meals for the whole entire day? So giving yourself a point based on that. Are you meal prepping for days on end, weeks? I mean, months, that's a little weird, but not that. Are you a chef? Like, do you like to cook a lot of advanced things, or are you a beginner? Like, let's just think about chicken and rice. Do you need variety and different meals throughout the week, or are you okay with eating the same thing every day? Are you feeding just for yourself or a whole big family or a couple people? So kind of looking at that and what's your score? I would give myself more of an intermediate score because I don't go all out meal prepping for the whole entire week, but I do some types of meal prep. So if you're a beginner meal prepper, we want to focus on basic ingredients that you can mix and match throughout the week. So you might think about getting a rotisserie chicken or getting chicken breast, for example, or your protein, and kind of cooking it and having it in a batch for you. And then maybe you'll think about having some sweet potatoes roasted, some veggies prepared, or pre-cut veggies that you buy from the store, and kind of having the batches available in your refrigerator that you can pick throughout the week and make meals out of. This will save you prep time, with a little bit more cooking throughout the week, and you can kind of assemble as you go and with your taste and what you might be feeling in that moment. If you're more intermediate type of meal prepper, you kind of can combine that thought process with full meal prepped meals, and maybe making your overnight oats for, 3 days of the week so that you can just grab and go in the mornings because you're super busy and don't have time to cook. Or maybe you're gonna meal prep some salmon and rice and veggies and throw it in nice little containers for your lunches because you're gonna be grabbing them and going to work. So, and then still having your meals thought of and the ingredients in the house for dinner, but cooking them at dinner time. And then the advanced prepper is you're prepping everything. You're just on point. You have the nice refrigerator with all the glass containers with all your meals there. And that's also fine. So whatever kind of way works for you, just thinking of it that way. And as always, we want to focus on food quality when we're talking about nutrition. The majority of our foods we want to be coming from whole, minimally processed foods. And this is where meal prep can make that easier for you because you'll be prepping these whole foods and having them available. Whereas if you don't have things available and you're kind of just hungry and grabbing and going, it might be more of that processed foods that are coming in containers. So all the time, this is an easy list to kind of look at, like all of our fresh whole foods, fresh fruits, vegetables. Frozen is okay as well, typically without, the extra sauces and all that stuff, just plain frozen vegetables and fruits. Your nuts, your seeds, your proteins of like your lean proteins with animal meats, all that fun stuff. We want to have daily, multiple meals a day. Moderation would be more of the dark chocolate, your processed meats, juices, butters, things like that. And when I say moderation, I think maybe like 1 or 2 times a week. And then limiting or removing would be something maybe like once or twice a month. So those could be, if you're on, like you have like a soda kick or a diet soda kick, we're not going to say, no, you can never have it, but maybe just cut it down and have it, see where you're at. If you're only having it once a month, maybe we can cut it out. But if you're having it multiple times a week, maybe let's cut it to once a month. So always seeing where you're at. Exploring barriers. So, um, we see this a lot in counseling with our clients. You might say, I don't have time to meal prep. Well, why don't we make it fun? Why don't we get someone that's in your household involved with you to throw on some music and have fun? I've had clients who actually had friends that meal prepped with them on their own, but they would make one person would make a batch of food enough for the other person would do the same. So then they would have two different meals prepped that they shared with each other throughout the week. You could, if you have a picky eater, that's super common, especially with kids. I usually just say, you got to still worry about yourself and put yourself first and make sure that you're getting your nutritious meals in. I get it. I'm a mom too, but I think we got to prioritize ourselves as well. And, if the kid isn't going to eat what you're eating, then we'll just have to make something separate for them. Cravings, I'm a fan. I'm okay with you have your meals prepped for the week, but you're craving something on the fly. I say once in a while, that's totally okay. You probably will see less cravings if we're eating these 3 meals with the protein in them. But if you're craving something, this is a time where you could, like Amanda said, go into our group chat and say, hey, I'm craving this. What is a good alternative, or what's a good something I can make? And we might have a recipe that you might be able to whip together at home in place of it. So that is some of that. Steps to meal prep, looking at your schedule, always like thinking about the week. When can you go food shopping, picking out the recipes or the foods that you want to make, looking what you already have and seeing how you can incorporate that so you don't have to have any waste, making your list, and then get grocery shopping and cooking. Cooking can be anywhere from, like I said, all at once, freezing some stuff throughout the week, or maybe 2 preps throughout the week. Or like I said, I do a combo of just having some stuff ready to go so I can grab and make my salad on the go and things like that. Pick your recipes. I just updated this list. If you've been in some of our groups in the past, we had a similar list with different websites. So this is all new websites that you can look at and see some inspiration for your recipes. And then obviously using our recipes as well that we're going to be supplying. This is for more of your information, but some examples of easy meal prep breakfast, which you'll have recipes for, but you could go back to this slide and have it on hand for inspiration. And then just some more foods to have on hand for busy weeks. I'm a fan of Amy Lou brand chicken meatballs. She has burgers as well, and she has breakfast sausages, and it's a pretty clean brand. So I'm a fan of the Amy Lou stuff. You can buy pre-made turkey burgers, salmon burgers, chicken burgers, all that fun stuff. Ground chicken and turkey, I always have on hand because it's super easy just to throw in a pan and cook quickly. The rotisserie chicken is great to have. I actually have that today for lunch, which I'm late on my lunch, but I'll be breaking up the chicken breast from that and eating that in a salad. Your carbs, having these guys on hand is always helpful to throw into different meals. Fats, again, they're great to add in for like that mouth feel, the crunchiness sometimes with the nuts, the avocado giving you that nice creaminess in meals. So always having those on hand is great. And then I put in some boosters. So you could add hummus to a salad. You can add guacamole as a snack with veggies, salsa. You can add to chicken or seafood, any of that stuff, pesto as well. Bone broth, I like to use in place of regular broths in cooking for saute. If I'm going to saute things, if I'm going to make a stew or a soup, it just has a lot more protein in it. It has about, I believe it's 9 grams of protein per cup, whereas regular broth has none. That's an easy way to boost up some protein. And then Amanda's going to finish us out.
Absolutely. Thank you, Christina. So, of course, this isn't a body composition based challenge, but we do want to offer that option to you guys. So, of course, body composition versus weight loss. body recomping is essentially referenced more towards increasing muscle mass, reducing body fat, whether at the same time or focusing on one entity and then the other as needed, right? So, of course, you guys have the option to come in and utilize our InBody body composition scale. The InBody is 98% accurate when compared to DEXA, which is the gold standard of measurement in this category. So for us, if someone is focusing on body weight loss, an average amount of weight and a healthy amount of weight for someone to lose in a week is about a half a pound to 2 pounds per week. However, it's not really about weight, right? Weight is something to think about in terms of components. So, what the main components that make up our weight is body fat, muscle mass, our bone, and our liquid. Three out of the four, we want to be heavy. We want to take up space, right? And body fat also serves benefits to our bodies too. Warmth, cushion for catastrophe, right? But of course, there is certain parameters that are more healthful versus less healthful. Muscle, of course, is more metabolically active versus body fat, or I like to use the term adipose tissue, just a friendlier term. So muscle helps to burn more calories at rest. That's why men often we're like, why do they get so many calories? Why is their metabolism faster? Well, they have more testosterone. More testosterone helps you to put on more muscle. The more muscle you have, the faster your metabolic rate is because that muscle is burning sugar and burning calories essentially to sustain itself. So it's important to note that muscle, I feel, is the fountain of youth, right? It helps to keep us mobile, independent into our later years. And we want to try to put on as much now while we can, right? So as you can see in the image below, or to the right, I should say, 5 pounds of muscle is is smaller but denser versus 5 pounds of body fat. So when we do gain muscle, it doesn't take up the space that was, sometimes as a myth, people think we're going to get bulky. It's not, it's very hard for us to get bulky, especially as females. Males, different story, different goals sometimes, depending on the person, right? Same for females. Sometimes some people want to be bulkier, whatever suits your needs, right? And is healthy. Body fat, of course, stores energy and also helps us in terms of, dietary fat helps us to, of course, absorb vitamins A, D, E, and K, and can be a storage of those nutrients as well in the body. Christina, can you resume, please? Thank you. So, muscle mass can contribute to decline in health as we age and can be one of the loss of that muscle or sarcopenia can be a leading cause of disability in older adults. So of course, it also helps with blood sugar stability because it's burning more calories and burning more glucose, just having been used and being on our body, and can also decrease risk for chronic illnesses over time, including heart disease. So these are just a few reasons why muscle is important. But if you are interested in using the body composition scale, please come on into Elevation. We're at 41 John Street in Babylon. You would just go to the front desk and say, "Hey, I'm a member of the Functional Nutrition RX, challenge. Can I use the body composition scale?" And they'll bring you back to the scale and perform that test, and you'll get a print off. And you can, if you've never used it before, you'll also get a link sent to your phone to download the InBody app, which also goes over a lot of that information with you. But this is, of course, a complimentary addition to the challenge. Sorry, Christina, can you resume? Thank you. So the biggest thing is don't get distracted when we get started, right? We don't want to have a herd mentality and expect quick results, right? Because, someone makes a comment in the gym or a family member says, "Oh, you should really be doing intermittent fasting," or "You should really go keto and focus in on your carbs," or, someone makes some kind of comment without really knowing exactly what you're working on, aside from them being a health professional that has gotten to know you over time, because it can cause us to get tangential and sidetracked. Remember, we're focusing on three main goals, right? Our water, eating 3 meals a day, and our protein. Christina, can you resume, please? Thank you. So it all goes back to what's your why, right? We're going to have moments in life where motivation is higher or motivation is lower, and you're going to go through that a little bit throughout this month. So that's part of why we're having the group chat available, the consistent, email once a week, your modules, these presentations, this and the midpoint presentation, just to help keep us engaged and motivated. But at the end of the day, motivation comes from within, right? There are external motivators, but for the most part, internal motivation is the main driver. It's not carrot and the stick. So remembering your why, like why did you sign up for the challenge? Why do we want to focus on making healthier choices for ourselves or making consistent healthy choices for ourselves? Is it, I want to nourish my body better? I want to improve different lab values. I want to have a better relationship with food, improve digestion. I want to feel stronger. I want to reduce my visceral fat around my abdomen. I want to be able to do that so I can get on and off the floor with my grandkids, or I want to feel more comfortable in my clothing or and as I move. Whatever that why is, think about that and hold on to it, right? Let that be your driver. Whenever you're choosing goals, of course, this is why we set the challenge up this way is, can I see myself eating and drinking this way for the rest of my life? It's not meant to be a short-term fix. It's meant to be, let me build this habit. Let me try to do this as consistently as I can. Of course, there's going to be little peaks and valleys in there, but for the most part, can I try to stay consistent with this? And is this going to be a healthy mindset for me? Uh, and remember, fail to prepare, prepare to fail. So, does anybody have any questions for us? And we want to thank you guys too. Oh, Linda. Oh, you're muted. Sorry, love.
I don't know. I had a question about the oat. You said the oat, overnight oats. I just always heard that those were very fattening. Is that true? I don't, how do you make it like more protein or?
Great question. So it gets labeled that way because oats are a complex carb, and we like we were saying, right? Like we want to balance meals. Like Christina mentioned that one third, one third, one third version of my plate. So if we have just oats on their own, it can be a little blood sugar spiking and body fat storage promoting. However, exactly, how can we make it healthier? We could add protein powder to it or Greek yogurt or, whipped up cottage cheese and add that protein into the oats so that we're pairing it with a protein, but also, chia seeds, ground flax seeds, hemp seeds, a combination, peanut butter. So we're adding a protein, a fat, we have the oats, and then if we want to add some fruit, I love to add a little bit of berries. So it makes it more of a balanced meal. But typically for most women, keeping the oats, depending on our sports performance, to about like one third to a half of a cup is a solid portion size.
Okay, thank you.
Um, does anyone have any other questions for us? No. All right. Well, we want to thank you guys for jumping in and for signing up, and even for those who are listening after the fact with the recording. Don't be a stranger. Me put messages in the group chat. That's one thing we really want to iterate is that if you're having a question, other people might have that same question. They might be nervous to ask it. So down the road, add it to the group chat, bring it up in the coaching call at the midway point. If you're not able to make the midway point coaching call, send us a message on the side. We can make sure we touch on it. But if we don't know, we can't support, and we really want to be there to support. But have a really, really good rest of your day, guys.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Wait, is there a chat? Oh,
Oh,
you're
yeah.
welcome.
Aw, thanks.
Bye.
Bye.